By now you've heard that Exorcist Believer is bad, which it is, but what's interesting to me is that not really that bad, and also I get the sneaking suspicion that if it weren't an Exorcist movie specifically, it wouldn't be getting received as badly. That in itself isn't a shock. A supposed sequel to one of the greatest horror movies ever made, getting more scrutiny is a no-brainer, and it makes all of the mistakes you'd expect something like that to do, from overindulging in callbacks, to misunderstanding what made the original great in the first place, to aping all of the other legacy genre sequels like the newer Halloween from the same filmmakers, or that Texas Chainsaw thing that I guarantee you already forgot about from a couple years ago, by putting Ellen Burstyn back in because 70s horror actress returns has to be treated like a magic box to be checked off. But on the other hand, it's really clear that the filmmakers aren't messing around in terms of actually understanding what made the original Exorcist work in the first place and committing to playing the same kind of tune. If nothing else, there's an obvious to-a-fault recognition that this is the present-day follow-up to a movie that started as a slow burn, gradually escalated, emphasizing grueling discomfort and realistic angst for most of its middle stretch before loading all of the big stuff that everyone remembers from the first one into Act 3, and Believer makes a game effort of doing exactly that. It very much fails to do so with the same amount of skill or execution. The pieces aren't just there to begin with, but I also feel like the original movie, if you released it today in its unaltered form, as a very upscale drama from 1973 that gradually turns into a horror movie structure and vibe without the weight of important classic movie reputation accompanying it, it'd get a pretty bewildered reaction even from top critics, which is to say that in Believer's case, yeah, this isn't a good movie or even a good Exorcist movie, but it's not a terrible movie. I mean, I'll honestly credit it for trying really hard to be more than a throwaway cash grab sequel, and there are many, so many much worse Exorcist sequels. Anyway, the premise for this one is that it's The Exorcist again, but this time in the suburbs instead of New York. There are two girls instead of just one doing the spooky monster face possession thing. One is black, the other is white. One has a single dad, the other has a big family. One is smart and introverted, the other is outgoing. One was raised basically as an atheist because dad resents religion, thanks to backstory stuff that definitely won't be the key to everything, while the other's family is super duper mega Jesus juicy. You get the picture. They go missing in the woods after school doing some Ouija type stuff. 3 days later, they're found acting all Reagan from the first one. No one knows what's going on until someone with incidentally correct religious backstory recognizes what's up and recommends they call the best available cameo from the first movie to come help sort things out, and you get where this is going here, right? Our actual fancy new 21st century twist this time is that whereas if the original movie was upfront about anything, it was a modestly reactionary, immediate post-60s moral panic sensibility. Sorry, East Coast college-educated smarty pantses, God and the devil are real no matter what the New York Times has to say about it, and if you don't get right with the good one, the bad one is gonna come make your kids' heads spin around and vomit up pea soup, or, smoke weed, take the pill, protest Vietnam, burn their bras, whatever the kids are doing that's making audiences freak out that they can relate to through this movie. I mean, that's what The Exorcist was about, more or less, subtext-wise. You realize that, right? We're all on that page? Everybody gets that?
You just blew my mind! Our minds have been blown!
This new one is essentially making the case for superstition to go intersectional. There's some actual fun back and forth about which of the two girls managed to cause the pair to inadvertently invite the devil into their midst in the first place, i.e. instead of a religious kid being led astray by paganism, this time it may have been a non-believer running into demons because a well-meaning friend from church tried to get them to pray. I like that, that's kind of clever. Before they back into what feels like a conceit arrived at by screenwriters after someone remembered that Reagan's mom wasn't actually that involved in the first movie, after they'd already convinced Ellen Burstyn to come back for a sequel to a movie she's mostly ever talked about as the origin of her back injury. In any case, what they've got is that Burstyn's Chris McNeil has in this new continuity apparently been resentful since the 70s that Catholic patriarchy dictated that she not witness or be involved in Reagan's exorcism in the first movie. Wow, they really wanted YouTube reviewers to get mad at this one, huh? And she has since turned herself into a globally recognized, self-taught authority on universal similarities of demon exorcism across all religious faiths, which is okay, an idea, definitely, but it feels more like a draft of an idea that they didn't really commit to outside of a way to get exactly one scene of Ellen Burstyn doing exorcism stuff herself opposite the one of the girls whose makeup and affect are the most similar to Linda Blair's as Reagan from the first one, so they can have that sequence in the can for the trailers and stills to promote this as a Jamie Lee Curtis versus Michael in Halloween before moving into their actual endgame, which ultimately involves assembling an Avengers team-up of multi-faith exorcists across different denominations and belief systems and modern medical science to exorcise both girls at once in a group ceremony, and again, interesting idea, lots of controversy to be courted and stuff to explore, definitely. Execution-wise, it feels a little too optimistic in context, which is weird for a horror movie. Like, you'd think they'd be trying to get everyone on the same page about agreeing that their deeply held beliefs are all basically the same invisible magic woo, so who cares, let's save the two girls, and that would be like a thing that there'd be debate and discussion and fighting about, and that would be the plot of the movie, but, everybody from evangelical Christianity to African root magic all just kind of get on the same page immediately with, yeah, okay, makes sense, let's DIY DIY a round-robin exorcism and cast out whoever this is, sure, gotta save them kids, and again, it's effective enough. These are decent filmmakers who understand the assignment and that the original was less about jump scares than long sequences of children in physical and emotional torment, and that's where the horrifying part comes from, but I just didn't really buy it. There's too much tell, not enough show, and the payoffs are all way too telegraphed. And I still yet feel kind of shitty giving it a bad review because it doesn't work, and there is absolutely a difference between meaning well and doing well, but, God, there's so many bad horror movies that don't try at all, especially in the nostalgia revival scene. I mean, I really didn't care for the new Halloween movies, and the new Texas Chainsaw sucked, but it really sucks when there's thought behind these and it doesn't pay off. So now I'll say this can have a 6 out of 10 for trying at least, and featuring solid performances that are committed to the bit, but yeah, the end result doesn't get there at all.